Check. Mic check. 3, 2, 1. Hello?
Hello, is this thing on?
Yes, it is not on because it's not a real microphone. Or it is, but it's not plugged in. Our show is real. We're going to give you some of the top sneaky plays tonight in baseball. And Giancarlo Stanton returning to Miami. Could get a little emotional, Jessie.
Well, if his internet is working, Steve going to join us and give us his top 3 plays of the night.
Okay, yeah, maybe his internet is working today. I can tell you who's working. That's Jeff and Reed talking some golf, FedEx Cup Playoffs, maybe what we're going to learn about Tiger Woods.
And we promise to make it weird tonight on
The
Sweat. Hello again, Jessie and Emerson here with you, and yes, we do mean you. The Sweat is the name, making you money is the game.
All right, and baseball sounds like a fantastic place to start. You just saw their beautiful faces. Pierce, Steve, and Julian. Before we get into chase and fade, guys, the Nationals began their sell-off that they opted not to do before the trade deadline, sending second baseman Daniel Murphy to the Cubs, first baseman Matt Adams to the Cardinals in separate waiver deals.
Yeah, they did do that. So, Steven, what's the fantasy impact of what the Nationals did today? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
Well, first of all, the Nationals are suddenly going to become a team you want to target against because they just got rid of a decent amount of power in that lineup. Daniel Murphy's been hitting fantastic since the All-Star break. 381 WOBA with a 194 isolated power and a 33% hard hit rate. You look at what that Cubs lineup could end up being once they're healthy. I mean, that's a combination of Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Daniel Murphy now, Matt Schwarber, Ben Zobrist, Javier Baez. I mean, that's a legitimate lineup that they really didn't have before. And I wonder with Yu Darvish going down, if that kind of helped push to help make their offense a little bit better because they're not going to have him anymore. Adams has kind of tailed off, with the Cardinals. He'll definitely get some at-bats. It's not a huge addition for them. I don't think they'll definitely be more powerful, which is what they needed against right-handed bats. I don't know what Julian's shaking his head about already. But, yeah, I mean, I think the Cubs made an excellent move here with Murphy.
All right, Julian, you were shaking your head, but before that even, Pierce, you looked really shocked when Steve said that you should start
like
stacking against the Nats. You want to target against them. So what's your take on this?
Well, I'm looking at the Nationals lineup tonight. Adam Eaton, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Anthony Rendon, Juan Soto, Ryan Zimmerman, Wilmer Defoe. That's not necessarily a lineup that I want to target. There's a lot worse lineups. This is not like the Baltimore Orioles who have nobody left. I would be careful if you absolutely go after it. Obviously, it's not as good as it was, but it's not someone I need to target. And I agree with the Nationals moves. Get rid of Adams. Get rid of Murphy. You're not going to get much more out of these guys. Sell as high as you can right now. And their lineup's not necessarily going to suffer too much from it. They're really smart moves.
All right, Matt Adams to the Cardinals. You looked like you had something to say about that, Julian, so take it away.
I was actually shaking my head saying, no, the Matt Adams move to the Cardinals doesn't really move the needle for me. He'll be a little bit of a bench bat for them, maybe get some pinch hit home runs. That's how I see that playing out. I do agree with Pierce, though, targeting against the Nationals. They still have Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto at the top of that lineup. I don't think that this makes the Nationals a team that you have to target against. But the big piece of this, I think, is Daniel Murphy. He has been the best part about the Cubs getting Daniel Murphy is that Daniel Murphy can no longer play against the Cubs. He has been a guy that has historically killed them. Steve mentioned the numbers coming out of the All-Star break on Murphy. I think he's going to be a really valuable bat for the Cubs in the second half here. You got to love baseball. 2 trade deadlines. If you miss out on the first one, you get to do it again.
All right, time now for everyone's second favorite game on the Sweat. Chase or fade, a narrative street edition. Agree or disagree with the following statements and why, guys? Steve, Giancarlo Stanton will have a big night in Miami in a bittersweet return. Chasing or fading?
Yeah, I'm going to fade this one. I mean, usually you want to go back at a team that did you dirty, but the Marlins did him a favor. They got him out of town and put him to the Yankees. So, if anything, he's going to go there and hug them all and say thank you for the opportunity. And, I mean, his career against the right-handed pitching at Marlins Park, 382 WOBA with a 263 ISO, 95 home runs through 2010 and 2017. But the problem is Pablo Lopez doesn't allow a lot of home runs, only 8 on the year, 6 to right-handed bats. His price point at $4,900, that's what really is kind of getting me here. For him, it's kind of cheap, but in a way with a lot of big bats tonight like Coors Field and such, I'm kind of on the fence of playing Stanton here. I'd much rather this matchup if Stanton was facing a lefty. That's where a lot of his power and his success has been. So I'm going to fade this one, but I can definitely see the narrative streak.
Pierce, he's one home run shy of 300 for his career. Do you think he has a big night in Miami?
I'll chase, maybe not so much the narrative street, and I don't really see that this being a bittersweet return. He's probably just straight happy to be back and happy about where his life has gone, and I don't think there's any bitter or anything to that. But it's a good matchup. Lopez is not really that good. He doesn't strike out hitters, and that's what you worry about with Stanton. He strikes out a lot, so when he faces a pitcher that doesn't strike out hitters, or at least right-handed batters, then you don't have anything to worry about. The Marlins bullpen doesn't strike out hitters, and the Marlins bullpen gives up a lot of hard contact. So even if he doesn't hit a home run on Lopez, and Steve mentioned that he hasn't given up a lot of home runs this year also because Lopez hasn't pitched that many games this year, but I would say that the home run possibility is just as there as it always is when you look at Stanton.
Pierce, he actually said it felt weird to be back at Marlins Park, but he is looking forward to the beach, good food, and 2 Yankees wins. It's only a 2-game series here, people. Julian, what do you think? What do you expect from Giancarlo Stanton tonight in his return to Miami? Worth rostering in your opinion?
Yeah, he's definitely worth rostering in my opinion, but I'm kind of more of the same belief as Pierce here. I'm not chasing any bittersweet revenge narrative. I'm chasing that he's $4,900 going against poor pitching. Steve alluded to the home run numbers. Pablo Lopez, he's surrendered 8 home runs this year. He's only pitched 47 innings. That's not like it's an unbelievable home run rate or anything. Stanton was 5,600 in his last game. He's got double-digit DraftKings points in 4 in a row, and his price just magically goes down $700. I'm very interested in that. And sure, it doesn't hurt that he's familiar with the ballpark, but I don't think there's any hard feelings here with the Marlins. He got traded to the Yankees. Now he gets to hang out on South Beach for a couple days, hit a couple home runs.
Nice hot take from you, Julian.
Sweatometer.
He will also need to pick it up even more on the offensive load, that is, with Didi Gregorius now on the disabled list. Something to keep an eye on.
All right, guys. Well, how about Jose Altuve? He's expected to return to the lineup tonight, but we don't have the roster yet, so we don't actually know.
Yeah.
He hasn't played since July 25th because of his knee, but it's too soon to use him in your lineup. So what do you think, Pierce? What would you do there?
I'm going to chase that, and if you look at the numbers, has Jose Altuve even played this year? Fantasy-wise, he's just having an okay season. I mean, he's a great baseball player, and everybody would love to have him on his team. But his ISO is around 130. He's only got around 40 RBIs this year. He's a good player. He's a great teammate. But fantasy-wise, I don't see the reason to pay up. He's not a GPP winning play. He's finding cash games, and you're probably overpaying for him. He's only stolen 16 bases. This is not the MVP candidate he was in the past.
Steve, what about you? What do you think? Do you think he's actually not a good fantasy pick?
Yeah, not for tonight. I mean, he's priced like a power hitter, and guess what he's not hitting for? Power! So what's the point? Doesn't make any sense. Just a 151 ISO on the year versus righties, 392 WOBA, which is great, but that's, really saying, well, he walks a lot, so that's cool. So if you want 2 DK fantasy points, have at it by all means. But you got to look at who's around him in that same price point. You have Travis Shaw, Javier Baez, Ozzie Albies, all within $200 of Altuve. It doesn't make any sense. And we don't even know if he's in the lineup yet. So if you really want to take a chance here, or if you really want those 2 DK fantasy points for a walk, yeah, hell, get him in your lineup. But otherwise, it doesn't make any sense here.
Hot take, sweatometer going off. Julian, what about you? Do you think Altuve is good for more than 2 DK fantasy points?
I think he is good for more than 2 DK fantasy points. I will chase that, but I think these guys are right here. They're just better plays. And another guy outside of all those names that Steve listed, Jed Lowry with the A's, I think he's another great play there at, I think, 4,400. Look, Altuve just hasn't been himself this year. Yes, he's not a great fantasy play. What I will chase, I guess, is that now is a decent time to roster him if you ever want to roster him. He is $500 cheaper than when he got hurt. He will definitely be off people's radars in his first game back. So I guess you get him a little bit cheaper. You get him while people are worried about him. So maybe a long shot GPP play here while people's minds are off of him, but he just hasn't been a great fantasy play all season long.
All right, Edlo, then there is highly touted flame-throwing prospect Michael Kopech. He is a good value tonight at $7,600 in his Major League debut against the Twins. Chase or fade, what are you doing?
Chase. I told you guys last night that we were going to play Bryce Wilson in his MLB debut. I wish this guy was $4,000 like Wilson was last night. You got to pay up for him at $7,600. But still, you're going up against the Minnesota Twins. This guy throws hard and he strikes people out, and that's what you want on DraftKings. When you look, the Twins are a team that don't really scare you that much on the offensive end. This guy's control is the part of his game that scared us. He used to walk a lot of people. That changed in his last handful of starts before coming up into the major leagues. His strikeout to walk ratio became significantly better. That's probably why he's getting called up, because he is ready to strike out major league hitters without walking too many onto the bases.
Pierce, he's touching 100 with frequency on the radar. Could help hide some of his flaws here. So is he a good value tonight at $7,600?
Yeah, I'll definitely chase in GPPs. I watched a video where on a run he was hitting 110. He's got pretty crazy stuff. He's got a monster fastball. He's got a monster slider. The issue is he struggles with command. And if you've ever rostered a rookie making their debut at DraftKings, then you've dealt with this before. A guy with really good stuff, but he could walk a bunch of hitters. The Twins below average against fastballs and sliders, so it's a good matchup. Kopech against lefties and righties, his numbers are comparable, so he doesn't really have a weakness, which tells me his stuff is really good. The real concern here is if he's striking out a lot of batters and he's walking a lot of batters, he's not going to go very deep in the game. That really limits his upside, especially at that price. But Julian's right. You got to chase the strikeouts here.
All right, we got two chasing. What are you going to do, Steve? A former member of your Red Sox farm system, buddy.
Who cares? We got Chris Sale. I mean, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
What
we
he
can
does
look at
after
those
this
numbers
point.
last year and this
No
year.
big deal.
Think
Here's the
all
thing, though. These guys are all over him, and I totally understand. I get the strikeout upside, but guess what? Everybody else is going to be doing the same thing. So if you're looking to have an advantage in GPPs, you're not going to be playing him at all. You're going to be looking at other options here. The problem is he's so cheap that it makes it hard to fade him. And I myself was having that same issue. But if I'm making a GPP lineup, you have to seriously consider fading him, because if he fails, let's remember, this is his first start in the major league. It's not like he's some veteran, and it very well could happen. That could be the big advantage of the GPPs here. If you're making multiple lineups, you can absolutely make a case to not have him. But in the same breath, with the upside that he has here, I think you got to get him at least one or two.
A lot of chasing tonight. All right, thanks, guys. Time to reward all of your hard work with a little 15-minute break, which allows us to hear from Tyler Sullivan, who gives us an update on some rumors swirling around the Jets right now.
The New York Jets look like they're willing to wheel in deal before the start of the regular season. According to Manish Mehta of the New York Daily News, the Jets have called the Jaguars about the possibility of acquiring Dante Fowler via trade. The pass rusher was the number 3 overall pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, but has turned in an up-and-down career to this point. His entire rookie season was erased due to a torn ACL. He turned in an 8-sack regular season campaign last year, but is now coming off a suspension by the Jaguars for violating team rules. Getting after the quarterback was a weak spot for New York in 2017, as they had the 3rd fewest amount of sacks in the league. And while the Jets are reportedly doing the calling on a potential Fowler deal, the phone is also ringing on their end too. According to the New York Daily News, at least 2 teams have expressed interest in acquiring quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. Bridgewater has turned in a stellar preseason, completing 10 of his 15 passes for 127 yards and a touchdown in his last outing against the Redskins, but it looks like he's going to lose out to number 3 overall pick Sam Darnold. Given that there isn't an avenue for a starting gig in New York, the Jets could make a move prior to the start of the regular season.
Golf gang, what's up? Here to talk FedEx Open with us is our DK Live contributors, Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler. And we got Golf Week's Brentley Romine also joining the crew today. Jeff, I can see that you did not wear red.
Yeah, you said you were.
Wow.
What's up with that, dude?
I lied.
He lied.
Who can't follow directions now? Jeff.
Wow. And the
Or chose not to follow directions.
lighting looks really good on Reed tonight
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
I'm just going to
yeah.
throw that out there.
But
Red, you're wearing Emerson.
Jeff, you do still have a red
salmon.
background, so.
That's like a Jordan Spieth Under Armour red.
All right, guys. All right. Focus here. We're playing PGA. Fill in the blank. Please finish these sentences for us. Jeff, you are kicking us off. This tournament proved that Tiger is blank. We're going to be saying this after the 72nd hole on Sunday, by the way.
Yes.
So after the tournament is over.
Yes.
This tournament proved that Tiger is pretty good. He's going to win. He's still pretty good, people. That's it. He's still the GOAT.
All right. I like it. Channeling your inner Larry David here. I appreciate that.
Pretty good.
What do you think here, Reed?
Yeah, I think he needed one more pretty for Larry David.
He was
but
close
yeah,
enough.
he's one of the elites again. I think we're going to say that Tiger Woods is one of the elites again. He is elite. He is one of the best. He is the GOAT. Jeff is right there, but he's now priced with the elites where he should be, right? We saw this before when it was just strictly name value and a bad value at that, where we didn't know where he was going to be at the Valspar, after the Valspar, the Masters, and we saw him up there with the guys like DJ, like Ricky, and like these guys. But now he belongs. We're not going to see him sub 10K for a while because he's playing really well. This tournament, along with the WGC or the Dell Technologies, next week up here in Boston, are going to be the two tournaments that Tiger has his best chances to win at the end of the season. So he's one of the elites again. So I do like that.
Just north of $10,000, T12 here at Ridgewood in 2010. So Brentley, this tournament proved that Tiger Woods is blank.
I'm going to go a little creative here and go thinking about Paris. You know, he's played unbelievably, but has also turned in a lot of rounds this summer for a guy coming off 4 back surgeries and long periods of inactivity. There's no doubt he can contend, but I mean, he's got 4 playoff events likely in a row, assuming he makes it to Eastlake. But today he mentioned pacing himself and practicing less to kind of stave off that fatigue and to make sure ultimately that he's fresh and ready to go for Captain Furyk at the Ryder Cup.
Yeah, he also mentioned Sam Snead's tour win record, Jack Nicklaus's major mark. Those are, you know, two major marks that are in sight for him. This guy is confident right now. There's no question about it.
All right, well, moving on, Reed, please fill in this blank. Jordan Spieth must feel blank after this tournament.
He must feel a little bit better than he has all season after this tournament. I like Jordan Spieth here. I do think when you get a guy like Spieth on a short game track, now again, we've seen his putting woes, but Poa is his preferred surface. That's that's the only surface that he's plus in terms of his splits, and he's a guy that can get within a tournament or get within a top 15 of a tournament with his short game. You're going to need around the greens. You're going to need putting. And I think when you look at Jordan Spieth, now his putting has gone way, 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 way into the plus at like 6 strokes gained. And we've seen his tee to green game really falter. So that does scare me a little bit when you see his putting saving him. But that's the thing that we've seen most falter for Spieth. And so if you can turn in a top 15, and this course can give you that, if his around the green game is close to where it's been over the last 24 rounds, then I think he gets a top 15. So I think he's going to feel good again.
All right, Jeff, I saw you looked like you were going to start laughing. So Jordan Spieth must feel blank after this tournament.
Jordan Spieth must feel relieved that he's still in the FedEx Cup playoffs after this tournament. Reed is right. I mean, he was like second or first in strokes gained putting at the PGA, and he finished T12, but his ball striking was pretty bad, to be honest. And if he ball strikes it like that around Ridgewood, I don't think he's going to get the same result. This is a bit tougher setup, in my opinion. It's not going to play soft like Bellerive. I don't think you're going to see players be able to save themselves as much with just, saving themselves off the fairway. So I look at Jordan Spieth as he still hasn't shown us that consistency, that upper level eliteness. I know he's 9,600 this week. I'm still not paying up for him. I don't care if he's like 2% owned. He's not going to be, but I don't want to get back on the Jordan Spieth train yet. I do feel like, it's just better to fade him at this point.
All right, Brentley, Jordan Spieth must feel blank after this tournament.
More confident. First off, Reed, I don't know if Spieth is necessarily really good at POA versus maybe there's some people that are just really bad at it. But anyways, it's been a long season. I mean, we know that he's struggled. He's yet to really put it all together. But top 12 in the last 2 majors, and he can still salvage a pretty decent season with a good showing in the playoffs. Plus, America needs you, Jordan. If you're watching, you need to turn it around. You got 4 weeks to do it. We need you.
We need you. I like that. We have a plea.
That's right. And,
we'll send it to him, don't worry.
He definitely is watching.
He's watching
I can
for sure.
feel the energy.
Absolutely.
Brentley, let's wrap this up, though. I can't believe blank did not make the top 100 and is out of the FedEx Cup playoffs.
I was actually hoping I'd get to lead this one off because I think the other guys are going to pick this guy too. But Charlie Hoffman, I mean, we're talking about a guy that made the U.S. President's Cup team last year. No top 10s this season. 98 in the FedEx Cup standings. I think he's headed home.
Reed, you were shaking your head in almost disbelief. Please go on.
Well, I mean, yes, Charlie Hoffman has been playing well, but we've seen him perform on the big stage. He always shows up at the majors. Now, this is not a major. It's the first leg of the playoffs, and he's 98th. So I think Brentley, I think he's taking the easy way out for a second time on the show, so I appreciate that.
Oh,
but Jason,
what's that? Hey.
Sassy.
Hey, come on now.
I
Jason
wasn't just
Duffner.
on King, but I didn't have very nice
Yeah,
things
I
to
mean,
say.
you're talking about the guys within the 90 to 100. You have Charles Schwartzel there. You have Roy Sabatini, and those are the easy ones to pick. So I appreciate him picking Hoffman because he is a good player, and he could easily be outside of that. But you got Duffner there at number 90, I believe. And you talk about a guy who's missed cuts in the last 6 tournaments. He's shown at the top 25 at the U.S. Open. But that's it. Duffner is losing strokes. He's bleeding strokes in every category. He is a major winner, but Duffner is a guy that hasn't put it all together this year. And so I'm going to say Duffner at number 90 doesn't make it.
All right, I like Reed with an edge. Jeff, I can't believe Blank did not make the top 100 and is out of the FedEx Cup playoffs. Who are you going with?
Reed's mean.
He is. He is very
It's the
mean.
red shirt. It's the red
It's
shirt.
going to take a lot for him
Yeah.
to help out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go one better than Reed. I'm gonna go Daniel Berger at 89. He's struggled with injury issues. He's been really inconsistent this year. Had a great ball striking week at the PGA. Then he missed the cut at the Wyndham in a far weaker field. You do not know what you're going to get from Daniel Berger week to week. I don't think he's playing consistent enough to make a run in the playoffs, and he's still dealing with a wrist injury. So I'll say Daniel Berger outside of the top 100 at the end of the week.
Brentley, why did that surprise you so much?
I mean, it's going to take guys that are in that 89, 90, 91 to really – it's going to take a lot from the guys behind them for them to really drop out. I mean, we're talking about –
but if Berger misses the cut, I mean, it doesn't take that much.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good players in the field. I mean, Patrick Rogers at 93 is not going to play because he's attending a wedding, so he obviously feels pretty confident he's going to be playing next week.
Brentley has done his homework, and you know what? You can tell he's a smart guy. It's pretty obvious because he went to UCF, just like yours truly. So
I finished.
Self-proclaimed
I'm just sad that I didn't get the
champs.
blue shirt memo here. That's the only reason why
you
I'm
look
better.
awful today, Reed. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Salmon
Every
colored
day I look
Reed.
like this. Every day.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. We're going to check in with you later in the show and play Tears of Joy,
All right.
so you can all, get hyped up for
Go
that.
do a wardrobe change,
Yeah,
Reed.
maybe change your shirt, Reed. But right now, here is Pat Mayo discussing DraftKings pricing for the Northern Trust.
Day is going to be popular. Obviously, DJ is going to be popular, but for whatever reason, people just don't get behind Justin Thomas ever, regardless of the price.
Very true. I'm going to lean toward Dustin Johnson. I think he will be popular, but I don't think it's going to be a huge disparity between any of these guys this week. I think probably low 20s will be the highest that any of them would be owned. They're just going to kind of spread out the ownership. I'm leaning toward Dustin, although, you do get a price break for Koepka or Jason Day, who I also like. I just like DJ a little bit more.
Well, the thing with Day for me, he has 2 solid finishes here at Ridgewood, which is, who knows? Maybe he was playing a lot better in 2014 than he is right now. But I really enjoyed the past few weeks that the approach has been getting a little bit better because he's won 2 tournaments this year off the strength of his short game and his putter. And these greens are really small, and people aren't going to hit greens in regulation at like an 80% clip. Like, they're going to get in trouble on some of these holes. Who can avoid the bogeys? Who can scramble from greenside out of this thick rough? And I just keep coming back to Jason Day of all these guys at the top. Not to say that they're not good short game players, just Jason Day is the best.
I agree with you. I like Jason Day a lot as well. He's been playing really well, a couple wins this season, but consistently in or near the top 10, missing by a couple strokes from being in the final group. So I have nothing against Jason Day this week. I think his game fits really nicely as well.
Tiger Woods, he's above $10,000.
It's interesting. It's a little bit spendy for me on Tiger, and I can kind of see a letdown happening. He was all geared up for the PGA Championship, and to be honest, he finished higher than I thought he would. But it was fun to see him in contention. This week, I kind of like the other names around him a little bit better. I like Justin Rose a little bit better for cheaper. So I will probably not be on I won't have any Tiger shares this week.
Yeah, I can't see myself having many Tiger shares, if any at all, on any of my teams. I'll probably be playing like 20 lineups and throwing it in, maybe 25 in the $5. But the way that we describe this course, doesn't it seem like this is where Tiger could compete? Because you say you don't have to hit driver, and I feel like any time that you can take driver out of Tiger's hands, and he can hit 3-wood, 5-wood, 2-iron, whatever it is, that he's going to end up playing really well because I think he's just dominating everyone in approaches right now. And if he can hit the fairway, like he'll probably lead the field greens in regulation.
Yeah, I think driving is pretty much his biggest and only weakness right now. So you take that out of play, and yes, I think he definitely can compete.
Like, should Tiger be the 5th highest priced guy on DraftKings? Like, should he be higher priced than Justin Rose realistically? No.
No, I would say probably not, which is kind of my problem with choosing him, is I think he should be probably a little bit less than Rose, maybe even Rahm.
All right, so you like DJ the best, I like Day the best. You would go to Day and Brooks after that, and where I would go to Justin Thomas?
Yes.
All right. $9,000 range. We got Justin Rose, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Francesco Molinari, Tommy Fleetwood, Webb Simpson, Brandt Snedeker coming off the win, coming off the 59. Beat the curse. Tim tried to lay it out there on him when he was up by 5. He almost gave it all back, couldn't do it. But again, this kind of seems like a course where Brandt Snedeker and Webb Simpson could both play pretty decently based on their style of game. Good putter, good short game. It's funny to mention Webb in a good putting conversation right now, but I'm kind of with you. I really like Rose here. I'm still concerned a little bit about the back, although it wasn't that big of an issue at the PGA Championship. He just didn't play all that well, although he saved himself with his putter a lot more than he had just was leading in ball striking because he lost strokes on approaches. But I think that like Spieth and Molinari are two really interesting cases here because on paper, I feel like this sets up really well for Molinari.
Yeah, and he's one of the hottest players in the world. 95 is probably a very fair price for where he's at right now, and he is a good fit. He's good with his long irons, which I think will suit him well here. I will probably be leaning toward Tommy Fleetwood at 9,400 and then go up to Rose and Rahm. So Molinari is kind of the left out guy in my core this week in the 9K range, but I think he's fine. Spieth, I'm still not ready. He let me down so many times early in the season when I thought he was going to bounce back on courses that fit him well and that he's done well on in the past. Looked good in his last time out, but I'm just not ready for Spieth yet.
All right, welcome back to our baseball trio. Welcome back to all of you at home watching us. Pierce, Steve, Julian, you guys have been hanging out in cyberspace just waiting for us to bring you back in, and we thank you kindly for that.
Yeah, so Steve's internet appears to be working.
Let's go, baby.
So you know what time it is. Put up your bukes. Loved by many and hated by none. The self-proclaimed highest rated segment on our show. Steve, we need 3 player picks and fantasy point projections for each one. Julian and Pierce, you get to fight him on it after. So Steve, put up your bukes. Who's your first pick?
What a fantastic introduction. I might have you do my voicemail message after this.
I would be happy to.
All right, well, we'll talk about that. But we're going to talk about my 3 picks for tonight because they're all fantastic as usual. Jose Barrios, 10,900 tonight. I love him for 28 DK fantasy points. I feel like he's a bit contrarian because of his price point tonight. And what I mean by that is you pay $1,000 more, you can get Patrick Corbin versus the Angels. You pay $600 more, you can get Blake Snell against the Royals. So if people are paying up for pitching, I don't see them going this route, even though it's a fantastic matchup. He's dominated the White Sox already, averaging 29 DK fantasy points in 3 starts with a K9 of 9.4. He has been shaky lately, and I think that's also going to help drive down some of that ownership, but he has a swing and miss rate of over 11%. His K percentage is 25 on the year. And let's not forget, the White Sox are striking out almost 30% over the past 2 weeks. I think this could be another great start for him.
Pierce, Barrios is going to cost you 10.9K. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, that's pretty pricey. I'd rather go with Corbin. I don't hate the pick. Barrios is a pretty strong curveball and he uses it 30% of the time. The White Sox are pretty much terrible against curveballs, so you got a little bit of an advantage there. The strikeouts are definitely there, but Barrios has struggled with walks. And if you look at his last 4 games, he hasn't gone past the 5th inning. And that happens when you spend most of your time trying to strike everyone out or walking them. It's hard to go deep in games. That's really caught up to him right now. So I would rather go with Corbin. In his defense, though, the one thing the White Sox don't do, they're the second worst in baseball, and that's walking. So as Steve mentioned, Barrios has pitched well against them in the past because he doesn't have to worry about the walk issues. He's just going to strike them out, and they're more than welcome to oblige him for that.
You could just say it was a great pick. That's all you had to say.
Yeah, but Pierce is looking really
he's
sharp
not that
today.
easy, dude.
He's got his tie on, looking really sharp. All right, Julian, are you worried that Berrios might not go too deep into this game? Is he going to go deep enough to get 28 DK fantasy points?
I am a little worried about that, and I do not think Jose Berrios is going to get 28 DK points on this slate. Pierce mentioned it. He hasn't been going deep in games. He hasn't passed the 5th inning in 4 in a row. He's had less than 9 DraftKings points in 4 of his last 6 starts. That's pretty alarming for a guy that is going to cost you almost $11,000 on this slate. I see the upside. He is a strikeout pitcher. The White Sox don't have a good lineup without Jose Abreu in it tonight, so I see why it's appealing. I just like all 3 of these other pitchers priced above 10K more. You've got Tanaka at 10,200 going against the Marlins in that game we already talked about in Miami. Great matchup, great ballpark for pitchers right there. Corbin has been a machine lately, particularly at home, and Blake Snell gets to go up against Kansas City in a really good matchup there. So the one thing that I do agree with Steve on is that it will definitely be a contrarian pick, but I don't see him hitting 28 DK points, and I like paying up for those other guys more.
Yeah, what were those numbers again, Julian? Under how many DK fantasy points did you say?
He's had less than 9 in 4 of his last 6, so that kind of stinks.
Okay, wow.
Now we're talking 28.
Steve, very contrarian. Okay, Steve, who's your next pick, and how many DK fantasy points are you projecting?
Hey, Julian, you have a segment later, right?
Oh, God.
Good tease.
Okay. Just making sure.
You seem nervous,
so
Julian.
Nick Markakis, 4,300 for 16 DK fantasy points. I'm hoping the weather, the mix of the weather, and a low run total for them tonight will drive people away. Only 3.9 runs projected against Ivan Nova. Who the hell is making these projections? You kidding me? I feel like Nova's going to get rocked tonight on a left-handed heavy Atlanta Braves lineup. Nova against lefties, 365 WOBA with a 5.43 FIP with 12 of his 21 home runs allowed. I mean, his salary and where he bats in the order, I feel like it's just such a great play tonight. I don't understand the run total at all. I think it's absolutely crazy. If you're in New Jersey, hit the over on that run total. Holy crap. I feel like that's a travesty. But yeah, Markakis, he's my guy tonight.
Okay, Julian, what do you think about this one? He's only going to cost you 4.3.
Yeah, well, picks like this is what makes this the highest rated segment of the show, because Nick Markakis is a fantastic play. And we got to talk about that salary, $4,300. He was $5,200 last week. I don't know why. I mean, he hasn't been playing fantastic, but
listen, it's probably a typo.
No, it's not. It's not a typo.
That's what happened. To get him at a $900 discount in a matchup like this, and Steve, I didn't hear you mention the BVP numbers. Did you get around to those?
Oh,
I can't use them all the time.
You left them for me to back you up with?
Yeah, I figured you'd go to that route.
I really appreciate that, because Nick Markakis, 14 for 42 with 4 doubles and a home run against Ivan Nova, makes him a really good play.
Oh, Pierce. Do you have some stats for us?
No, I didn't look up stats for this game. And what's even more shocking is I agree with him that Markakis is a good play. I can't believe it. But he is. Nova's giving up 1.7 home runs per 9 to lefties. And this ballpark's playing pretty neutral to left-handed bats. Markakis has surprisingly hit well on the road. All of his power has come on the road. It's strange. It should happen in Atlanta, but it hasn't. And a lot of his home runs have come at pitcher-friendly ballparks. I can't explain it. Another crazy thing about about Markakis, he has his highest hard contact rate ever, and his fly ball rate is at a career high as well. This is like a brand new Nick Markakis in the twilight of his career. I can't believe it. He is a really good play tonight.
Wow, Steve, what a unicorn pick right there.
You're not supposed to pick players these guys are going to agree with.
Okay, well, he can't help it. He's just making good picks. All right, we got to move a little bit quicker through this last one, unfortunately, due to time. So, Steve, who is your third guy?
Yeah, real quickly, Evan Longoria, 3,500. I mean, Maps has just been an absolute gas can on the mound. Longoria's been a lot better against lefties. I feel like this is a sneaky spot for him at his low ownership and low price point. I think Maps is going to get rocked to Longoria, 3,500. I love him.
All right, Pierce, what do you think? Real quick.
Mats throws 60% sinkers. Longoria against lefties, throwing the sinker, 487 xWOBA. He's an awesome play.
Thank you.
All right, Julian, do you agree? Awesome play?
Nope, fade it. Look at his game log. I don't care what he hits. It seems like he never hits. This guy never scores double-digit fantasy points. And to top it off, there's nobody to drive him in or for him to bat in when he's on base, because Buster Posey, Brandon Belt, Brandon Crawford, Joe Panic, all resting tonight for the Giants. They have half their lineup out there. And
The short version, Julian.
Those guys are terrible anyway.
Thanks for
Julian.
wrapping that one up, Steve.
I knew we could count on Julian to bring some fire to the segment.
Yeah,
I also
thanks,
enjoy
Julian.
all the pictures he has in his refrigerator.
I love those.
We will be back with Julian's value picks. So for now, did you know Adam Levitan hosts the DFS Edge Podcast each week during football season with Peter Jennings and Al Zeidenfeld? Because now you do.
But we decided to get the guys together a little early this year to give you some help on your season-long fantasy football drafts.
All right, hello and welcome to a special mini edition of the Daily Fantasy Edge. My name is Adam Levitan. I, of course, one of the analysts here at DraftKings. I am the father of Jerry, the most beautiful beast in the world. Today, I am joined by Al Zeidenfeld, a.k.a. Smizlife, a.k.a. Al Smizzle. I am also joined by Amari Cooper's lover, Peter Jennings, a.k.a. CS2 Ram 88. All right, normally we focus on DFS on our podcast, the DFS Edge. However, we know that season-long drafts are in full swing right now. So, boys, let's give the people what they want. Al, I'm going to ask you, who do you think is the most undervalued in, say, I don't know, the top 20 or 30?
Most undervalued player in terms of ADP in the top 30, I'm going to go with somebody who's going in the late second round. And to me, it's Devontae Adams. I want as many shares of the wide receiver one for Aaron Rodgers over the course of an entire season as I can get. Yeah, the dude's had some injuries. He's had some concussions, but usually that's what happens when a 270-pound linebacker missiles himself at your face. But he came right back from that. Aaron Rodgers healthy again. Look at the past performance of wide receiver ones on Green Bay over the past 7-8 years. They all have double-digit touchdowns. They all have amazing seasons. He's being drafted behind guys who have had touchdown issues before. And he's in a system that just allows a wide receiver like him to thrive.
Pete, what do you got for us?
Yeah, my guy's just outside the top 30, and I think he deserves to be in the top 30, and that's Zach Ertz in most formats. I think there's a clear tier of tight ends with Gronkowski, Kelsey, and Ertz. And in your season-long drafts, you really want to prioritize getting the last guy in a tier. And I actually think that's probably one of the biggest drop-offs of all the fantasy tiers is from the tight end 1s to the tight end 2. So I'm doing everything I can to get Zach Ertz. He's going to get a ton of targets. I think the Alshon Jeffrey injury could be good for him. Nelson Aguilar also beat up. So he's a mainstay and someone who's seen a ton of passes go his way. He's been a reception monster. And last year was his first year scoring a lot of touchdowns.
I'm going to go with Keenan Allen. I have like an affinity for Keenan Allen. Anybody who can rack up 13, 14 catches in a game is a guy I want to be in on. We know Hunter Henry is out for the season. We know that Antonio Gates is not back with the team as of yet. I'm not sure Mike Williams is quite there yet. So I think that Keenan Allen is a guy who will catch 100 balls for you. And to get that in the late second round, I think makes a lot of sense. All right, quickly, let's go to overvalued in the top 20 or 30. Al, who do you not want in the top 20 or 30?
When you're drafting Alvin Kamara at 6 or 7 in the first round, and the only person that's ahead of him that's not a running back is Antonio Brown, you're drafting him expecting to get exactly what we got last year with absolutely no regression. Yes, he's going to play a few games without Mark Ingram, but the price is extremely hefty considering how many touchdowns he had from distance, how many balls he caught, and the fact that for 12 of the 16 games, he's not going to get the lion's share. He's still going to split carries. He's not going to be a 25-touch guy, but you're paying for a 25-touch guy there. So I have shares of Alvin Kamara in season long, but it's scary to think that he might only get 225, 250 touches and probably won't be as efficient in scoring touchdowns as he was last year.
Yeah, historic efficiency from Alvin Kamara last year. Peter, what do you got?
Well, first of all, got to get at this and disagree with Al completely. My conviction play of all of last year essentially was Alvin Kamara. Guy who's most overvalued for me is Dalvin Cook. I think he's a clear running back that where he's getting drafted obviously shows the need for a clear-cut workhorse back, but I don't think that's the case. He's coming off an ACL. There's talk of Latavius Murray splitting time with him. I think Kirk Cousins is going to throw the ball around. I could see more touchdowns through the air. So we'll see. I don't hate him as a player overall, but as one of the guys, top 12, 13, I actually prefer the receivers like Keenan Allen, like Michael Thomas, even Gronkowski ahead of him. So I think he's a bit overvalued in the top 20.
Here's another guy for you, Ty Fluke Hill. That is, unless you think he is the best wide receiver in the history of the NFL, his career so far has been just a absolutely massive outlier. Talked about this with Drew Dinkmeyer on the podcast last night. You can find that on iTunes. I mean, Tyreek Hill is like breaking any type of projection model whatsoever in terms of what he's doing in touchdown rate, with a lack of red zone opportunities, with what he's doing in yards per target. It's just totally insane. And I get that he's going to have huge games and everybody's going to tweet at me and it's going to be awful, but I still want to be low on Tyreek Hill, particularly with Sammy Watkins in the fold, particularly where the quarterback change. Even though I like Pat Mahomes a lot, Alex Smith was so awesome last year. So tune in to the DFS Edge. You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes. Recently got added to Spotify somehow. I'm not sure exactly how, but we are on Spotify now. So it's all very exciting. Find us there. For Pete, for Al, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.
Sticking with football, if you're wondering what's going on with the QB situation in Philadelphia, you're in luck.
And if you're not wondering what's going on with the quarterback situation in Philadelphia, Tyler Sullivan has you covered anyway.
Nick Foles is ready to roll for week 3 of the preseason. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson announced on Tuesday that the Super Bowl MVP quarterback will play in Thursday's exhibition with the Cleveland Browns. Foles suffered a shoulder strain in last week's matchup with the Patriots, but has been practicing with the team despite the injury. Foles didn't play much against the Patriots due to that injury, completing just 3 of his 9 passes for 44 yards while being sacked 3 times. If you want to place him in lineups for Thursday's showdown contest, Foles will cost you $7,600 in a standard spot and then $11,400 as your captain. And sticking with the theme of recovering Eagles quarterbacks, Carson Wentz is back splitting first-team reps in competitive drills for Philly as he recovers from his torn ACL he suffered last December. Wentz likely won't play in the preseason, but Peterson notes that he'll be splitting reps with Foles 50-50 leading up to the opener. And for that showdown, Wentz is pricing in at $11,200 in the standard spot, while Foles is considerably cheaper option at $9,800.
We've got one more go around with the boys of baseball, Pierce, Steve, and Steve's little brother, Julian.
And it's your time to shine, little buddy. Time to play Hidden Jewels when Julian gives us his value picks for tonight's slate. Who you got first, buddy? I hear you have a couple of them.
Yeah, well, we're going to start off with Jason Hayward here at $3,800. He's batting second for the Cubs in Detroit, going up against Jordan Zimmerman. That gives him an opposite hand matchup. Look, the Cubs, really good looking offense tonight, projected for 5.4 runs here, so they're going to be a really popular stack. But Hayward's one of the cheapest guys you can get your hands on here, and he's right at the top of the order. He's been decent lately, but this is really just about targeting a cheap bat high in the order against Zimmerman. Zimmerman has had a almost 6 ERA since the All-Star break. He's giving up home runs at a rate of about 1 every 3 innings. And then, of course, I'll sprinkle a little BVP on top here. 6 for 17 against him in his career, but some extra base hits there, 2 doubles and a home run, a few walks. So I like the matchup, I like the price point, and I like targeting this Cubs offense a lot.
Steve, did your BVP brother from another mother convince you to drop $3,800 on Jason Hayward?
I mean, he sits there and craps on my segment, and then he leads off with Jason Hayward. Oh, yeah, this is really going to get the people in here. I mean, I looked at Hayward earlier, and when I say I looked at him, it was when I was scrolling past. I happened to notice his name while I was going by. You're saying Zimmerman gives up a lot of home runs? Who's going to hit them? Hayward? There's a 135 ISO against righties and a 29% hard hit rate. He's not going to do crap in this matchup. Yeah, Jordan Zimmerman's having a bad month. I'll give you that. But Hayward, it just does not hit for power. $3,800 if you're looking to save some salary. Yeah, maybe if you want a big fat 0 in your lineup tonight, forget Hayward. Absolutely not.
Pierce, Hayward strikes me as a guy you would also just scroll right past.
Well, I think even Julian would, because Julian's endorsement was, well, he's been decent lately. Come on.
I'm selling the matchup.
His ISO is terrible this season. And even Jordan Zimmerman's got some reverse splits. He's been better against lefties with just a 312 WOBA allowed to him. So I understand trying to save some money, but this is not where I would go.
Jeez, Julian, can you do a better job at trying to convince us here of your second hidden jewel?
Maybe he's okay.
Guys, this segment is not called obvious jewels. They're hidden jewels. They're supposed to be scrolled past, and then I tell you why they're good.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that makes sense. You guys,
Anyway.
stop ganging up on Julian.
Keep scrolling.
All right, here's another guy a lot of people are going to scroll past tonight, and that's Tyler Anderson. Nobody wants to target a pitcher at Coors Field. That would just be stupid. But he's actually been really good there this season, and this is kind of like I'm selling the matchup against Jordan Zimmerman. I'm selling the price point here. I think a lot of people are going to pay up for, even if you're Steve and you want to pay up for Berrios, other people will probably have Corbin, Snell. You're going to be paying down at that starting pitcher 2 spot. And a lot of people are going to have Sam Gaviglio going to get targeting against the Orioles. Junior Guerrera could be a popular target for the Brewers going against Cincinnati. But if you look here at Tyler Anderson, he's been very good at home. He's been striking batters out. And the matchup is the Padres here. So if the Padres are going to light Tyler Anderson up, they're going to have to get the ball in the air at Coors, and that hasn't been something they've been very good at. They strike out a lot. Tyler Anderson strikes a lot of batters out at home. I think this is going to be at least a sneaky GPP target for you in tournaments.
All right, when I hear Coors Field, I think of you, Pierce. How sneaky of a GPP play is this?
There's a fine line between sneaky and stupid. He's not even the best Anderson on the slate. I would rather roster Brett Anderson playing in Oakland. It's not a bad matchup for him either. Brad Peacock is probably a better play. As you mentioned, Sam Gaviglio is a better play. Kopech is a better play. I don't know about Guerrera, but at least Guerrera is not pitching at Coors Field. I get it. It's the Padres. But on a big slate like this is a huge risk. And you probably do need to keep scrolling. This isn't somewhere where you should have stopped.
Oh, man.
Steve, $6,900. I mean, did you scroll past him at least?
Man, hidden jewels. When I think of a jewel, I think of a strong material. This segment should be called Hidden Glass because all we're doing is breaking up these picks. I'm not a fan of this one at all. I mean, sure, the Padres are terrible, but they haven't been bad against lefties. They have a 182 ISO against them, which is the 8th highest in the league. Just like Pierce said, there is so many options on this slate. You're going to risk it with Tyler freaking Anderson? Give me a break. This game's at Coors Field. Not necessary at all. The Padres have been surprising with their offense. You have to give them that. And now they're at Coors Field. Man, why would I even look at Anderson? Hidden jewels. Big thumbs down. Bring back Pierce's segment with the stupid umpires.
All right. Wow. Okay, Julian. We'll give you another chance at some point, don't worry. But before we set you guys free for the night, how about your slate approved picks, your lock of the night? It can be anybody we've talked about in this show. We got to move through this kind of quickly. Julian, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, it'll be Michael Kopech, who we talked about off the top. Yes, he's an unknown, but he is going to strike guys out. And like we talked about, that's the name of the game. He's been really good lately.
Pierce, what about you? Who are you going with?
I'm going to go with Gaviglio versus a minor league baseball team.
Steve, how about you?
I'm fading the hidden glass segment.
That's your slate approved?
Yeah.
You got it. Don't touch those guys.
Okay.
All right, so in other words, yeah, don't touch Jason Hayward or Tyler Anderson is what Steve
I got plenty of Hayward in my lineups tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Enjoy lose your bankroll.
Best of luck to you tonight, Julian.
We'll see you on Twitter. What up?
Appreciate it, guys.
We look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow. For now, here's part 2 of the DFS Edge podcast with an early Week 1 preview.
All right, hello and welcome back to another special mini edition of the Daily Fantasy Edge. My name is Adam Levitan. Of course, I'm the father of Jerry. I'm one of the analysts here at DraftKings. I am joined by Al Seidenfeld, aka Al Smizzle. I am joined by Peter Jennings, aka CSU Ram 88. And we are here on the Sweat to talk about a very early look. Are you lower now on Dalvin Cook in Week 1, Al, home game against San Francisco, than you were when we taped that pod a few weeks ago?
I would have been if Dalvin Cook, like before it was kind of looking like a slam dunk. Now it's like, okay, it's a layup, right? It's not exactly a slam dunk, but it's not a half court heave either. So with Dalvin Cook not playing at all and then thinking he's going to get monster usage like he was getting last year in weeks 1 through 4, that probably was going to happen. But now it appears that he's going to play in the next preseason game. So at least he's going to get work. So if he's getting worked in, there's a good chance that he gets normal reps in Week 1. Now, maybe it's more of a timeshare, but if that timeshare is 70-30 in Cook's favor at 6,200, he's still in play for me.
Yeah, very good matchup at home against San Francisco. All right, let's get to some conviction plays. All this means it's very early. We do reserve the right to change, but all this means is guys that we feel the best about right now. Let's start with Peter. Who do you feel about best week 1 DK slate right now?
Well, I love a couple of your guys' calls, but the guy who still stands out just from a savings perspective is Rex Burkhead. Obviously, you're going to get a really good spot here where the high total. And Burkhead, I think, is going to be the clear-cut goal line back and someone who should see a lot of usage. Sonny Michel had his knee drained. Who knows if he'll be ready for week 1. We know what James White's going to do. He's going to catch a lot of passes. But I think Burkhead's going to have a lot of opportunity for touchdowns. At 4,200, it's great savings. You can get in those mid-tier running backs we talked about. And definitely it opens up spending up a receiver as well. So he's a clear-cut kind of slam dunk for me at this point.
Yeah, Rex Burkhead had a scare with his knee, which I think briefly dropped his ADP, but already back in practice. So it seems minor. Al, what about you? Favorite week 1 play right now? We're 3 weeks out.
Right now, 3 weeks out, knowing what we know and all the value that's out there at running back is allowing me to pay up at wide receiver. Give me Keenan Allen, 7,500, one of the later games, one of the afternoon games. So you still have that PMR. You still have that chance. There's always hope. And you're looking at somebody who last year had 32% of the market share. And even with Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates on the team, logged a ridiculous 35% of his team's red zone targets. Mm-hmm. If that continues this year, you factor in that Hunter Henry's 18% are gone. If he sees 30+% of those red zone targets in a game against Kansas City, where Kansas City's defense is nowhere near what it used to be before, this game could very easily shoot out. 10 targets plus is definitely on the table for Keenan Allen in week 1, plus all that red zone usage. Gimme.
Oh, yeah. Love it. And Kansas City's defense just lacking talent everywhere. Eric Berry coming off the Achilles tear. Don't leave it to Peter to let you guys know how bad it is to come off of an Achilles tear. Feel bad for Eric Berry. Okay. My guy, and I think this
my guy too.
Yeah, and I mean Peter's got too. We did a show at Gillette a couple years ago, and Peter was very excited. You guys can go back and probably find that on YouTube when Christian McCaffrey was drafted. But yeah, Christian McCaffrey has seen the most surprising maybe usage among guys that are in play for week 1 in the preseason. I thought that CJ Anderson would come in and play the Jonathan Stewart role, if not more. That has not been the case whatsoever. Christian McCaffrey got the first 9 running back touches in the second preseason game, and the first preseason game was on the field for all 14 of Cam Newton's snaps. The Panthers have said they want Christian McCaffrey to touch the ball 25, 30 times a game, which sounded ridiculous, sounded outrageous, but maybe they will really get him 20 touches a game, 5 catches, 15 carries, something like that. And with his skill set and on a full PPR site like DraftKings at 6,400, it's just an absolute no-brainer slam dunk for me. Christian McCaffrey at 6,400, I would be shocked if I don't end up with him in cash in week 1, but I do reserve the right to change because it is 3 weeks out. All right, that is going to do it for this mini edition of The Edge. You can find our podcast on iTunes. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it everywhere where you can find podcasts. For Al and for Peter, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.
All right, one more time. We're talking golf, specifically the FedEx Cup Playoffs with Jeff, Reed, and Brentley, and who they're willing to pay up for.
Yeah, that's right. It's tiers of joy. Our first tier is guys that will cost you $10K plus. So you got Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jason Day.
Whoa, wait a second, guys. We have a wardrobe change.
We have a wardrobe change from Reed. It looks to be an anchor shirt.
Well, I got this in the costume pile that was going to Goodwill, so I thought I'd put it on. And I'm following directions again, so I thought I'd put it on. And
it's obviously your yachting shirt, so.
Obviously.
Wow, it's a pretty bad shirt, though, right? I mean, you guys would all agree this is a pretty bad shirt.
If I see that on the rack anywhere, I am scooping it up immediately.
I think it looks pretty hideous, but we'll just, bummer.
We can move on.
Yeah, we can move on. Okay, so Dustin Johnson, speaking of, yachting and money, Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Brooks Koepka, and Tiger Woods, all guys you might find on a yacht. So, Jeff, who would you pay up for to roster from this tier?
I mean, I think I pretty much made it clear this week. I'm on Team Tiger. I really do feel like this is a perfect spot for him to get his win this year. Outside of Tiger, I mean, he is the cheapest of this tier too, so it does add more appeal. Outside of this tier, though, outside of Tiger, Jason Day, Brooks Koepka both have appeal, but if I have to choose one, I'm going with Tiger Woods. You get the savings, and the guy who was first in strokes gained approach at the PGA Championship, and he's top 6th in 3 of his last 4 starts. Just give me Tiger. He's the cheapest.
Tiger Woods, y'all. All right, Reed, Terrence Fowler, the 5th. Who would you take from this tier?
Wow, I can't believe there was 4 before me. But outside of this shirt that I'm definitely fading, I'm going to take Jason Day. Jeff mentioned it. Jason Day, if you look at this guy, I mean, he's probably twice in terms of strokes gained total over the next guy. He's one of the best in this tier at strokes gained around the greens and putting. It's hard to fade the other 4 just because talent-wise and just in terms of their finishes, they're playing better than Day. But this guy just annihilates this tournament. In 2014, he came runner-up. 2015, even though it wasn't at the same course, he obviously won. His worst finish here is 25th, and so he's racked up top 10s, runners-up victories. And he's a guy that if he's wayward off the tee, if he's in that rough too much, then yeah, he's not going to do well. But around the green putting, this guy is the best in that tier at 10-7. I like the 2 that are above him, and I like the 2 that are below him in price, and so I'm going J Day.
Brentley, all these guys are going to cost you over 10K. Who are you taking?
First off, I'm glad Reed clarified the shirt because I thought he was either going to do his Elvis impersonation later or he was going to join Phil Mickelson in the next Mizzen and Main commercial.
Yeah, again, let me reiterate, that is a gorgeous shirt, an absolute gorgeous shirt. But go ahead, Brentley. Enough about that beautiful shirt he has on.
It's disgusting.
I'm going to go Dustin Johnson. I mean, not just because he's the world #1. You know, there are a lot of attractive options here. Love Day, love Tiger, but I'll give DJ the slight nod. I mean, it was T9 here back in 2010, and although this is a composite course, it's a 27-hole course, and they've used, a few, 6 holes from the east, a couple from the central, some, the others from the west. It's still course history, and statistically, he's a gem. 8th in strokes gained approach, 16th in strokes gained putting, 20th in scrambling. Does everything well. Got to go DJ.
Guys, we have 6 golfers between $8,500 and $9K. Reed, who looks good to you on this tier?
Yeah, I mean, there's guys that I love at this tier. Snedeker, obviously, and Finau are some of my favorites, but I'm going Hideki here. And the reason why is, again, at this price at $8,800, he's a guy that I do like. If we saw him above 9, then I'd say I'd fade Hideki. But in terms of what we've seen from him, he's not playing all that bad. This is a game theory play as well. You're going to get Hideki at sub 10%, just outside the top 10 last week. And he gained 9.5 strokes tee to green and lost 2 putting. And so you want guys, again, we talked about in the earlier segment, get the guys who can strike the ball well. His putting obviously is not good. And that's what when his irons go bad, when you get a bad iron game and a bad putting game from Hideki, he just blows up. And so I'm gonna choose Hideki here. Probably temper expectations, but I do like him the best.
Placed T30 here in 2014. Jeff, who do you like in this range?
I'm not sure. I kind of feel like Hideki might get a little bit chalky as the week goes on. I've heard some people chattering about him. He did play pretty well last week. I'd go with Patrick Cantlay, though. He's been far more consistent than Hideki over the year. He's made cuts in major championship. I also feel like this course, with it just being a real tee to green sort of test, sets up perfectly for a guy like Cantlay who's been super consistent off the tee. Again, you compare him to a guy like Matsuyama. The ball striking for Cantlay has been there all year. So I would go Patrick Cantlay. I do assume he'll be a little bit chalky, but he'd be my highest rank. A couple of interesting tournament plays. I think going back to Brandt Snedeker is an interesting play. He'll definitely be low owned, but my top pick is definitely Cantlay.
Yeah, one of those guys who continues to fulfill his massive potential on tour. Brentley, who do you like between $8,500 and $9K?
This was a tough one, but I got to go with Adam Scott. I mean, we've seen some flashes from him as of late, most notably at Bellerive a couple weeks ago. If that non-anchored long putter can perform like it did for most of the time at the PGA, with the way he's been striking it the last month or so, I expect him to be very much in the mix. I do love Patrick Cantlay, though. I think that's another great fit.
All right, guys. Well, before we let you go, we need those slate-approved picks. So give the people your lock for the Northern Trust. Jeff, hit us with your best shot.
Well, I talked about Billy Horschel last week. I'll leave that one for Reed in case he wants to talk about it. I'll go with Patrick Cantlay. I feel like he's been trending a little bit under the radar. He hasn't quite popped off for that big week. But again, I just love the setup. Tighter fairways. You got to be good off the tee. That's all in Patrick Cantlay's wheelhouse. So I'll go with Cantlay.
Reed, what about you? Who are you taking with your slate-approved pick?
Yeah, Billy Ho is a great value play, but I still got to go with my boy Tommy Fleetwood. I think Fleetwood's in a prime position, so I do like Billy Ho at that price, but Tommy Fleetwood.
Is that shirt slate-approved?
Absolutely.
Never.
No, it's not. Brantley?
My lock, I'm going to be paying the top dollar for DJ, but I also really like Bryson. I think he'll be in probably every lineup that I fill out. The storyline of making the Ryder Cup team, who it's going to be one of those last 4 picks. We already know Tiger's won. We already know Phil is likely probably won. But, there's a lot to be said for a guy fighting for a spot on, this team. Bryson's played for the national team on every level as an amateur, really wants to be on the team. And, we're looking for good ball strikers and good putters. Bryson's been both this season. So he's a lock for me.
All right, Brantley, thank you. And thank you to all of you. We're going to talk to you guys tomorrow about more golf stuff. We missed you already. Excited. Yeah, we do.
All right, guys.
All right, bye, guys. Bye. So, Emerson, what did you learn today?
Well, what I learned was when Reed accomplishes a successful wardrobe change, he goes from handsome to incredibly handsome. And that shirt, I'm going to talk to him after the show and find out where he got it, because good grief, that would look good on yours truly.
So I learned today, actually this is something I learned today, maybe this is something that I'm just sharing today. That shirt is Emerson's shirt. No. And Reed took it and put it on. And Emerson is desperately trying to defend the honor of his shirt, but
listen, I am chasing that shirt.
It is hideous.
My wife picked it out, okay?
All right, so
I have to wear it.
We'll be back tomorrow again to host The Sweat at 6 p.m. and maybe Emerson will be wearing that shirt.
I don't know. After Reed wore it, he was pretty greasy when he came in today.
Yeah, you're crazy. Emerson, Lotzia, Jessie, Coffield. We'll see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m.